Two people can have the same income, live in the same kind of neighborhood, drive similar cars, and end up in completely different financial realities 10 years from now. Not because one of them earns more. Not because one of them got a lucky break, the other one didn't. Because of how much their stuff costs them to maintain, every month quietly, in ways neither of them is really tracking. I'm Frank. On this channel, we don't chase getting rich fast. We do the math on getting wealthy slowly. Today, 10 rules that have nothing to do with how much you earn, and everything to do with how much of it you actually keep. Most financial advice is about earning more. That's fine. But it skips the part that actually determines whether you build wealth. What happens to the money after it shows up? Every time your income goes up, your spending tends to quietly follow. A slightly nicer apartment, a slightly newer car, small upgrades that each feel reasonable on their own. That's lifestyle creep. And it's not really about willpower. It's about not having rules in place before the moment you're standing in front of the purchase. Here's how much this actually costs over time. Say someone gets a $5,000 raise, and about 70% of it quietly gets absorbed into a slightly better version of their existing life. A little more rent, a few more dinners out, a nicer car payment. That's $3,500 a year that never even gets the chance to be saved or invested. Over 10 years, with raises repeating that same pattern, that's not just $35,000. Invested along the way, it's closer to $50,000 in growth that simply never happened, for a lifestyle upgrade nobody consciously decided on. These 10 rules aren't about deprivation. None of them ask you to live with less. They're decision-making shortcuts that keep your spending intentional instead of automatic. So the gap between what you earn and what you spend actually gets to grow on purpose instead of by accident. Rule 1. The cost per use rule. Before buying something, divide the price by how many times you'll realistically use it. A $200 jacket you wear 3 times a week for years costs you pennies per wear. A $200 jacket you wear twice, because the moment passed or the style didn't hold up, costs you $100 an hour of use. Same price tag on the receipt. Completely different purchase in reality. This one rule alone reframes almost every impulse buy. It's not asking whether you can afford it. It's asking whether you'll actually use it enough to justify it. Rule 2. The maintenance test. Every possession has a second price tag nobody puts on the sticker. Storage, insurance, upkeep, the mental space of just having it. A boat that costs $8,000 to buy can easily cost $3,000 or $4,000 a year just to keep. A slip fee, winterizing, insurance, repairs. Over 5 years, the boat you paid $8,000 for can quietly cost $25,000 or $30,000 all in. Before you buy something, ask what it costs you every year to simply own it, not just the day you bought it. That ongoing number is usually the one that actually breaks a budget. Rule 3. Replace on failure, not on release. Most of what gets replaced early still works fine. It's just not the newest version anymore. A phone, a laptop, a car. They're usually retired not because they stopped working, but because something newer came out and made the current one feel outdated. Waiting until something actually breaks, instead of when a new model comes out, can easily double or triple how long your money lasts in that category, without you losing any real functionality along the way. Rule 4. Add friction on purpose. Most impulse spending happens because it's frictionless. Saved cards, one-click checkout, apps that remember everything about you except whether you actually need what you're buying. Deliberately making a purchase slightly harder, removing a saved card, waiting for a physical wallet instead of a phone, closing the tab and coming back the next day, cuts impulse buying without you having to rely on willpower at all. You're not fighting the urge, you're just removing the shortcut that used to skip past it. Rule 5. Audit recurring charges every quarter. Subscriptions are designed to be forgotten. That's not an accident, it's the business model. 5 streaming services, a gym you haven't visited in months, an app trial that quietly became a monthly charge. None of them feel expensive individually. Stacked together, they're often $80 to $150 a month, leaving your account for things you're not using. That's up to $1,800 a year, invested at 7%, turning into over $25,000 across a decade. For subscriptions, most people forgot they even had. Rule 6. One in, one out. For anything you bring into a category you already have too much of, clothes, gadgets, kitchen tools, let go of one similar item first. It's not about minimalism for its own sake, and it's not about giving things away for the sake of giving things away. It's a built-in ceiling that stops quiet accumulation before it starts, because every new purchase forces you to actually look at what you already own. Rule 7. Define enough with an actual number. Most people never set a real ceiling for categories like clothing, gadgets, or eating out, so the target quietly becomes more than I have now, forever, no matter how much they already have. Pick a specific number for what's actually enough in each category. Say, 4 pairs of shoes or 2 nice dinners out a month. And you stop chasing a finish line that moves every time you get close to it. Without a defined enough, more income just moves the goalposts instead of building anything. Rule 8. Discount the status purchase. Visible spending, the car, the watch, the upgraded phone, gives a satisfaction that fades fast, usually within weeks, while the payments or the price keeps costing you for years. There's actual research behind this. People consistently overestimate how long a status purchase will make them happy, and underestimate how quickly they'll stop noticing it once it's just part of daily life. Before a purchase like that, mentally cut its value in half. If it still feels worth it at half the emotional payoff, it's probably a real want. If it doesn't, that's useful information too. You just found money you didn't know you were about to lose. Rule 9. Freeze your lifestyle when your income jumps. When you get a raise, the easiest move is letting your spending rise with it. You barely notice because nothing about your daily life actually changed on paper. The better move is freezing your spending exactly where it was for 3 to 6 months and automatically redirecting the difference into savings or investing before your habits catch up to your new number. By the time the freeze ends, you've usually stopped missing the extra spending entirely, which means you just permanently raised your savings rate without ever feeling like you gave something up. Rule 10. Measure wealth in months of freedom, not stuff. Instead of asking what you own, ask how many months you could cover without a paycheck. That number, your optionality, is a far better measure of financial health than anything sitting in your driveway or your closet. Someone with a modest apartment and 18 months of freedom is in a stronger financial position than someone with a nice car and 18 days of freedom, even if the second person looks wealthier from the outside. It's also the number that actually grows every time you follow the other 9 rules, which is really the whole point of all of them. None of these rules are about having less. They're about making sure your spending is actually a decision, instead of just momentum. You don't need to apply all 10 at once. Pick 2 or 3 that hit closest to home, and the rest tend to follow naturally once you start paying attention to where the leaks actually are. The people who always seem to have money usually aren't earning dramatically more than everyone else around them. They just have fewer leaks, and the gap that creates, compounded over years, ends up looking a lot like luck to everyone watching from the outside. Next time, we're looking at a number. Most people think they need way earlier than they actually do. If any of these rules made you want to look at your own spending differently, subscribe. This channel is built for exactly this kind of patience.